Hi everybody! For those of you that don't know, I'm Kyla and I studied a BSc in Human Life Sciences at Stellenbosch University. And now I am busy studying my honours in molecular medicine at Wits in Johannesburg. So the things I'm about to talk about in this video are things that I have learned from my studies that I don't think should be gatekept. And in this day and age, getting diseases like cancer and diabetes and being obese are all being contributed by our environment. Our environment is just becoming increasingly toxic, and it's probably not possible to take away all the toxins in our life, and it also probably would even take away some quality of life if we did that. So this isn't about like stopping everything and never touching some of these things ever again, but it is more just about people being aware of what they are eating, because I think the problem today is that so many things have such a bad effect on us, but we aren't even aware of it. And there are so many easy ways to just slowly remove some of the impacts that are being made on us that we don't even realize, that I think people could benefit from knowing about. So I'm going to try to make this more widespread. One thing I can say is I'm not a teacher. I'm not very good at explaining a lot of these things, but I would really like everyone to be more aware of these kind of things and how you can potentially live a more healthier life just by changing small things. Not only do I plan on explaining how to remove toxicity in your life and just live a healthier lifestyle, but I also plan on addressing some misconceptions when it comes to health. I'm not sure if you guys can hear the weird sounds coming from upstairs. One thing that's really important to note is that when we refer to big pharma, it's this negative connotation because it is believed that the pharmaceutical business is profiting off of our illness, and that a lot of more holistic, natural approaches are actually better, and that they are hiding this from us in order to profit from us buying drugs. And I actually do see this in not even just pharmaceuticals, but just overall capitalism. For example, I've got eczema, and as soon as I went to the doctor, they immediately prescribed me this corticosteroid shampoo. At that time, I didn't really realize that there are other options and that I can do my own research first and explore other options before heading straight to a doctor. But anyway, so I did that, and only up until like 6 years of doing that, I basically didn't have a medical aid anymore, so I was struggling to afford this shampoo. So I was like, maybe I should start looking for a generic brand that could be cheaper but still give me the benefits. But one thing I can say is that like I was becoming dependent on this shampoo. Like that's why I so badly needed another alternative, otherwise I was going to struggle. And at that point it had spread like down to my neck. But I didn't really realize that it was making it worse. I thought maybe it would have been so much worse if I didn't use it, But anyway, so as I'm looking for this generic brand, I actually started finding out that it wasn't all good. That apparently it's only really necessary to use that if it's chronic, if it's really bad. And then I saw that, like, if it's not really necessary, it can actually do more harm than good. And when I found this out, I was like, now I don't even want to buy it anymore, but I can't just leave it unattended. That was actually the first time I started doing my own research on my personal health issues, and I did my own research on the actual biological causes. When you see the biological causes, that gives you like a direct insight into what should be targeted. There are usually ways to target things naturally first, especially if it's not to this level that you need medical assistance. I then started noticing that even the things in my shampoo were bad for my scalp. And the thing that annoyed me the most about this was sodium lauryl sulfate, SLS. And it's literally in every shampoo you get, especially in South Africa. I'm not sure about overseas and stuff, but it actually dries out your scalp more than anything. So basically this ingredient makes my eczema worse. So I was like, okay, I just need to find a shampoo that doesn't have this ingredient. And here's the issue with capitalism, is that this ingredient is in everything. And that happens with almost every single product we have, because when it comes to business, making profits, their focus is not for your overall benefit. It is to make things as cheap as possible so that at a lower price they can make more profit. So they would rather choose the ingredients that might do a similar thing to the other better ingredients, but maybe they're cheaper or easier stored. That's why we need to look at the ingredients in everything we buy, not even just the food we eat, which is also a big thing, especially processed foods, but also in the things that we're putting on our body all the time. The good thing about natural things is that they're very unlikely to cause the side effects that you would get from other medications. Please don't hear this and be like, oh my gosh, I'm dying from something, but let me just do the natural thing first. Like, there are certain things, please just go to a doctor. The natural approach will usually just make the environment less favorable for that bacteria, for the bad thing, but it won't like kill off every single bacteria in your body. Whereas if you go to a doctor and you get an antibiotic, that's gonna kill all of your bacteria. There's been so much research recently saying that the gut microbiome is linked to so many things: our mood, digestion, obviously, cognitive function, and drug responses. Like, the gut is so important. It's so important to maintain. And so that's why I will first try the natural approach, because my gut microbiome is like my precious little gem that I try to conserve. The reason the gut microbiome became such an important thing for me to start taking care of is because I've had digestive issues very often, and I do find that it is when my diet is like, for a consistent period of time, not good. Like, I'm not getting enough prebiotics, enough fiber. Also, when I've been really stressed. Where was I going with this? Oh goodness, this is going to be the way the video goes. If you're going to treat yourself in some way, like if you've got something going on with your health, let your gut be the last thing that's affected. And an easy way to do that is with holistic approaches. Always look for good evidence before you try something. But even in university, when it came down to it, environment was such a big role. And environment means what you're doing, like your physical activity, what you're consuming, so your diet, but even like feeding your brain. Very seldomly is genetics the only contributor to disease. Usually if someone has a genetic predisposition to something, they're fine until the environment activates that. And on that note, a very big thing I want to address is cancer. My mom was actually telling me the other day how, like, many years ago, you would barely hear of someone having cancer. It would be like such a seldom thing to hear about. And these days it's like almost everyone has at least someone they know that has cancer or had cancer. And it's so scary. But it just shows that the change in our environment has definitely impacted that. So a very important thing in trying to reduce our cancer risk is changing our environment. And there are so many little things in our environment that we don't even realize affects us and can contribute to cancer that we can easily change. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, but these are small things, like, what's it really gonna do? But it's like, the little things matter, you know, like, it builds up, and you don't know actually how much you've been affected in the past or in your genetics. So it's actually really important to just take these little things that we can control and just change that. Some of the things that I can think of on the top of my head is like Teflon pans. The compound that makes it not non-stick is actually so toxic for us. The problem is when you scratch it, then it's like really bad for you, then it's exposed. The holistic approach for this is to use stainless steel pots and pans. I know that it's a little bit more tricky because it's not non-stick, but that's the only option we have today. There hasn't been developments of anything healthier. Another thing is plastic. It's so scary how we use plastic in everything. Like, not even is it just bad for the environment because it doesn't degrade for like, I don't know how long. It also has an effect on our health. A lot of plastics have BPA, which is an endocrine disruptor. I actually just watched a video on this. Definitely go give it a watch. It's on after school. It leaks off into the water that we put in it, the food that we put in it, especially if we're putting hot food in a plastic container. Try to limit your plastic use. Also plastic cutting boards, because obviously now you are literally cutting and you are basically putting microplastics into your food, which is so bad. Then also, I've been hearing a lot about aluminium and heavy metals. And this plays a major role when we're using aluminium foil. So when you are covering your hot food up with aluminium foil, it causes the foil to release these heavy metals into our food, which is bad. The alternative is to just store your food in glass containers, preferably glass containers with bamboo lids. Also using seed oils, so sunflower seed oil, etc. Those are also really bad because these oils are higher in omega-6 fatty acids, which contribute to inflammation. Opt for your non-seed oils. So olive oil is the best one, and I will get more into that later because this is also why the Mediterranean diet is better. It's so good in terms of reducing your cancer risk, reducing your obesity risk, reducing type 2 diabetes risk. Like, Mediterranean diet has been proven so many times that it is just elite. Fatty fish like salmon, but also chia seeds, things that have high omega-3, really good for anti-inflammatory purposes. Also, another thing to note is that it was previously believed that your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is what was important. So you just had to have more omega-3 than omega-6. But actually, it has been found that the amount of omega-3 you have is way more important than the ratio. Just having a very good amount of omega-3s in your diet. At the moment, I can't really think of anything else, but there should be a list right here. Also, in terms of cancer, I would like to address the cure conspiracy, that everyone believes that there is probably a cure out there that is being hidden from us because Big Pharma wants to profit off of our suffering. I'm not saying that this is definitely not true. There is a possibility that it could be true. I will never know that. When it comes to treating cancer and researching how to treat cancer, it is a very thorough process, and there's so many ways it can go wrong. The amount of times people come up with ways to treat cancer and then there's just this one safety problem, so then they can't use it. Or sometimes it's not even the safety problem. Sometimes something actually really has an amazing potential to cure people, but it costs like $1 million to get it or to produce it. And then it's like, okay, but it's not feasible. In my studies right now, we learned about that in terms of gene editing for like specific disease treatment. And yeah, the big problem is that even though it can definitely cure this thing, it literally costs like millions to get it. So it's like, you can't progress with this cure. The people that need it are usually low income and aren't going to be able to afford it, and then that's actually unethical to go through with it because the people that need it can't get it. When a cure or a vaccine or anything is given out to the public, everyone should be able to have access to it, especially when it's like a really life-threatening thing. So yeah, definitely not saying it's not true, but I think we all need to just be aware of the fact that it is an extensive process. It actually just highlights the importance for cancer study progression. My one lecturer said that in order for us to ever reach a cancer treatment that has very little bystander effects, like chemotherapy, as we all know, it is very detrimental because it literally targets any rapidly dividing cells. So that means even your healthy cells will be attacked, and your most rapidly dividing cells are like in your intestine. And that's why people go through all of their side effects when they are on chemo. But she was saying that oncology progression is so important because the more we know about a cancer's mechanism of action, the specific signaling pathway it uses, these specific things that it alters in normal cells in order to progress into this cancer state, the more specific we get down to it, the more we can create things that are specific to those targets and just remove the bystander effects overall. And oncologists are striving for that. So that is also why science is so important right now, and it's so sad that the funds are being taken away for a lot of research. While I was watching this endocrine disruptor video, they also explained that it's not on purpose. It's not like the government or whatever is trying to reduce the population, because in our heads it's like, okay, the government just wants to reduce our numbers and take as much money as us while they can. As much money from us as they can while we're here. Population decline is actually not a good thing when it comes to the economy, because when there are less children being born and less young adults in the population, there are less youngsters that can support the old people, which basically puts a halt on the economy. This is as far as I know. And that's why I also don't think that they would hide any cures from us. And I hope I'm right, because it would be really sad if they are hiding a cure. Maybe I am just being optimistic about it. When it comes to conspiracies, I also kind of wanted to mention the vaccine, specifically the COVID vaccine, because there was such a controversy around it that it was made to cause a population decline and it'll end up killing us or something. But I really do want you guys to know that there is nothing to worry about. It's not this evil thing. Like, I don't know why everyone thinks this. Like, vaccines have been a thing for so many years, for so long. The way a vaccine works is to mimic your immune system to fight back a disease. But sometimes a disease is so strong that your immune system can't fight back on its own. It can't build its own immunity quick enough to fight back this disease, and then you get ill too rapidly and you die. And that was kind of what was being seen for COVID. So what they could do is they use this, it's an mRNA vaccine. For some background, protein synthesis, your DNA is transcribed into mRNA, which is messenger RNA, and then that gets translated into an amino acid sequence, which then eventually becomes a protein. Just so that you know what mRNA is. So basically what they did for this vaccine is they put together an mRNA sequence coding for the protein sequence of the spike protein of the COVID virus. And basically the spike protein is what this virus uses to enter our cells and then infect us. The vaccine will enter your system, it'll produce the spike protein only, and then basically what happens is your cells will present this as an antigen, and then that'll stimulate antibody production. And then your body can now produce these antibodies so that before you even get exposed to this virus, you now already have antibodies to fight it. So usually how a normal immune response works is that you get exposed to a virus and you get very little antibody production to fight it off, but you get enough, usually, to fight it off completely. But now that you've been exposed to it, your cells store memory antibodies. Then what happens is when you get exposed again to this virus, the secondary response is so rapid because you've got these memory antibodies, and then your immune cells just produce mass amounts of these antibodies, and they also release the memory antibodies, and it's this rapid, sometimes you don't even realize you had the disease. That's how rapid the secondary response is. So that's why a vaccine is so helpful, because you're basically taking away the need for that slow primary response, and you're just, when you get the disease, now it's just the secondary response, and you might not even realize you had it, or maybe you'll just have very slight symptoms. The point is you won't die. A lot of the conspiracy around the vaccine was that, oh, but why was it produced so quickly? Like, usually vaccines take so long to be produced. Like, surely this is not good. It can't be good for us. Like, they haven't done enough research. I think the reason this is such a concern is because people aren't aware of the fact that because vaccines have been going on for so long, the mRNA vaccine was actually studied for years prior to COVID arrival or whatever. Probably in that time, all they had to do was synthesize this mRNA vaccine and then, just make sure that it was safe, and then they were like, good to go. Another thing that made it such a rapid thing was the urgency of the situation. People were dying at massive rates. It doesn't benefit the economy to have a population decline. This is my theory again. Obviously, I could be proven wrong one day. Maybe they are trying to kill us. Who knows? For me, it doesn't make sense. And so there's no reason to have doubt. I'm trying to just maybe alleviate some of your stress. We also fail to realize that studies on vaccine development have also rapidly advanced. So what used to take really long to test and to develop now is a lot quicker. And I'm sorry to anyone that did lose anyone through COVID. It was a terrible epidemic. Try not to have ill faith on the medical community. I really do think that there are some good hearts in it. I can't say that I haven't heard of anyone that has gone into the medical industry for money. There are definitely people like that, and that scares me a lot. But I do believe that there is a good amount of people in the medical industry that are there purely to help people. In my honors research, I've met so many of those kind of people who are just doing this because they want to help people. So that's where I put my faith. Another thing that people form this conspiracy around is like, oh, I didn't get the vaccine, but I'm fine. This concept is called herd immunity. And basically, how this works is the more people that have the vaccine, the less the disease is able to spread. But in a population where like 80% of the people have the vaccine, or maybe even less than that, 60%, then those 40%, those 30% of people are very, very unlikely to get it because there isn't a lot of people around them that are able to spread the disease to them. But that is also an importance of the vaccine, because even if not everyone takes it, it still reduces the bad effects of the virus, even to the people that don't have a vaccine. I think I will stop here for this video, for part 1. And in the next part, I think I'll focus more on consumption, what we eat, how to heal our skin, and lots of other things from the inside out. Also fasting. I actually really wanted to mention that in this video, but please tune into the next video. That one's also going to be really important and really helpful in just building an overall healthy lifestyle. Still indulge. This is just, if you do live, and hopefully you do live a long life, you'll be able to live that life. You won't have health issues that hinder you from living this life, you know? That's kind of the whole goal. We don't know how long we're gonna live, but if we do live long, let's hope that we are able to live it fully and enjoy it all. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this was beneficial. Thanks so much for your support. I love you. Bye.